Ponytails. Read by Scribbler. Wishes Only Last a Night by CeeHoff. She stood at the edge of a cliff. Shutting her emerald green eyes, she outstretched her wings part way, letting the wind caress them, swirl around the center of every single feather, the strange, rough word for such a delicate section of her body, the rachis. Pressing the pale grey feathers once again to her flank, she swallowed deeply. A tingle went up her spine, travelling once again to the delicate membrane of her wings. She looked up and sent a silent prayer up to Luna's stars, the only witness to this silent scene.
Luna's light, those stars that shine bright.
Inhaling deeply, letting the extra air flow into her lungs, she took a step backward.
The first of Luna's subjects I see tonight.
Now she galloped forward, full speed, towards the edge of the cliff, almost closing her eyes.
To grant me the chance that I might...
But no. Now she flung her eyes open and charged off the cliff, spreading open her wings, letting her fears melt away like icicles on a hot summer's day.
Wish the wish I wish tonight!
For a moment, she felt like she was falling, and she opened her mouth, preparing to let out a silent scream before her final moments. Those moments in which, once again, the only witness would be Luna's stars. Then she realized that she was flying. Opening her eyes with a gasp, she looked down at her sock-covered hooves, which, for the first time, were not touching the ground. She let out an excited squeal, moving them around, making sure this wasn't some cruel hallucination that some contemptuous unicorn had played on her. But they were real. A smile slowly creeping across her face, her pupils glanced over the directions of her right wing. It was gliding over the wind currents, not crumbling up and failing her, not like that one fateful encounter so long ago. The thought struck her mind, and she looked over at her left wing. But to her surprise and delight, it was whole, not bare like a strange dead chicken's wing, as it had been back then, when everything was wrong. After all, who wanted a one-winged Pegasus? She shut her eyes defiantly. No! She would not think of that. Her one long-time wish had finally come true. Dear Luna had, after years upon years of asking, granted that one simple request: to fly. Finally letting herself run free, not having a care in the world, she flapped her wings. Once, twice, and then 3 times, and she was already 20 feet above her original position. But she wasn't done there. She pointed her muzzle upwards, letting the wind rush through her bright green mane, the thrilling sensation of adrenaline flooding through her body as she broke through the layer of clouds that had been covering the land below. She let out a gasp that was muffled by her delicate hoof, which covered her mouth. Looking around as she slowly flapped her wings to hover gently above the clouds, she felt a small tear emerge from her eye. This was what she had been missing. This was the thing she had longed for so long. And now, it was finally here, in front of her, showing her that once again she was welcome in this land of Pegasi, that there was, finally, a third of equestrian ponies that she belonged to. Before her, silhouetted by Luna's moon, was Cloudsdale. For a moment she was tempted to fly into the streets, all around those little ponies, just to let them know she was there. But something tugged at her heartstrings, away from the beautiful sight, telling her, no, now was not the time. She reluctantly obeyed, but she would not be deterred so easily from impressing that invisible audience that had taunted her all her life. Sharply outstretching her wings, she once again began to fly upwards, her muzzle piercing cloud after cloud as she gained altitude. The moon teasingly shone onto her coat, bathing it in such a wonderful sensation that words themselves could not describe it. those rays which felt so different than they did on the ground. Then, when she flew to such a height that she could no longer see Cloudsdale below her, she froze for a moment in midair.
So, this is where a Pegasus would reach 36,000 feet now, isn't it?
She thought, with a small mischievous smile. Then she let herself fall backwards. The dive was dangerous, fast, and exhilarating. Her favourite combination, which she hadn't felt since a small filly. For a moment, she was transported back to that fateful race, the one with that one they called Rainbow Dash, the strange multicoloured maned mare which she owed both nothing and everything in her life. That mare had managed to pull off a sonic rainboom when there had been a simple race, nothing special, while she had failed when her parents' lives had been on the line. For a moment, she was tempted to stop, to pull up, to stop the thing that had cost her so much when she had failed to execute it. But she had failed then. That didn't mean she was going to fail now. Narrowing her eyes as water began to clog up her vision, she felt herself in freefall, the exact opposite of what she had been doing only moments before. Throwing her hooves forward, she felt the pressure mounting up before them, the wrinkles that had been in her blue-green socks straightening out as the wind furiously drove itself at her. And then she broke the sound barrier. She looked behind her as a green pattern spotted with several dots of blue here and there exploded. For a moment, she smiled sadly.
Did I make you proud? Mom? Dad?
Looking back down, she realized that she was headed straight on a collision course with the ground. But as she tried to pull up, she realized it was no use. She smacked straight into the hard grey rock in front of her. And then there was darkness. The young grey mare woke up. Looking at her left wing, she saw that it was once again dead and flightless.
Sometimes,
she thought sadly,
wishes only last a night.
That was Wishes Only Last a Night. It was written by C. Shimmer and read by Scribbler. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Very short fic this week, and one that only I appeared in. I did intend to release something with some other guest VAs as well, but quite frankly this week has... If I thought last week was bad, this week has just proved that I'm forever wrong about stuff, which is not news, but I would have preferred it not to be this time. I'm working on very, very few hours sleep because my mother has been quite horrendously ill this week. She got sciatica last weekend. She trapped a nerve in her back, and when she went to the physiotherapist on Wednesday, he managed to push her leg too far, and she has now slipped a disc in her back and can't walk. If she tries to get out of bed, the pain in her leg and up to her lower back is so bad that she faints, which has ended up with lots of broken nights for me, hearing her crying as she tries to get out of bed for things, and I have to go and help her at 3, 4 and 5 in the morning. Or, in the other event, when the dog hears what's going on and she starts howling because she doesn't understand. So I've ended up more than a few times going out and taking my quilt with me and sleeping out in the hall with the dog. Mental note, sleeping on the hall floor, even with a quilt, is really, really uncomfortable. Right, whinging aside, I just realised I've left my notes over there. My little post-it of things to update people on. This week has been a busy week for different fanish things, so I'm gonna go through my post-it list. First thing, I have received 3 different bits of fan art this week that I wasn't expecting the slightest. The first, I'll just bring this up on screen now. The first was, it's called In Honour of Chapter 10 by Fitting Username, and it's a picture that goes along with Chapter 10 of Playing With My Heart, the Scratchtavia fic that I've been writing on Fanfiction. So this is on the screen now, and you can see that, and it's a quote from the story, which is in turn a quote from Shakespeare. The second one that I received was called Scribbler by Law44444. I'm hoping that's pronounced right. And it's a lovely one of my ponysona reading from a book. All shiny and lovely. And the third one was called Is It Morning Already by Finish Line. A voice actor whom I've worked with on several different occasions, and who is also head of Spectra Studios, who are bringing out the Rainbow Factory animated movie, which I'm so looking forward to seeing. And he made this lovely, lovely picture of my ponysona, which is based on a joke of the fact that I suffer from insomnia, aside from many other things, so I'm frequently awake at stupid hours in the morning. Even when my nights are not broken, I'm just generally find it really difficult to go to sleep. So this is a picture of my ponysona going, oh god, have I worked through the night again? So thank you very much to all 3 of those people. Second thing on my list, there are 2 fanfictions that I want to fanfiction readings that I want to direct people to this week. The first is a collaboration that I did with The Lost Narrator, the first of 2 fanfictions, which is called Autograph. And it was originally intended to be out for Valentine's Day, but due to a minor mishap, ended up being released early. So everyone go and listen to that one. I will put the link in the description below. The second is not a collab that I've been in, but it is a fic that has been released by one of my long-time collaborators, Sweedley, also known as Flamed Lionheart. And he has brought out a, frankly, really bloody good reading of the silent type. And he collaborates with the Applejack voice from Crisis Equestria, called The Fangirl. And both of them are just, they're bloody good. So please go and listen to it. It is, for a first reading, it comes with full music, sound effects, and is so professional sounding that I was so impressed, and I really want people to go and listen to it, because maybe if you all go and tell him how wonderful it is, he'll do more. Because I would really appreciate that, because I was really, really impressed, and I really, really liked it, and yeah, really, 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 really. And so we come on to the portion that people ask me about frequently during the week, and that is about Aaron. So if anybody doesn't want to hear about this, turn off now. Got another round robin email from his friend Ray, who himself is going through a bit of a moral quandary at the moment, that Aaron is in a coma, and Ray has been given sort of permission, I guess, because Aaron doesn't have any family. Ray has been listed as next of kin and is going through a bit of a moral quandary over the whole situation, and it's not looking good. So, if people are religious out there, spare a prayer for either or the both of them, and if not, or even if you are, just send them a note, please, just send them a note of comfort. Ray's not asking for anything more. In fact, I don't think Ray has even asked for anything. He just keeps the rest of us updated. And I think it would be nice for people just to send him some reassurances, and because he's not in a position that I would want to be in. That said, I have been in that position before, several years ago, when my grandfather died. And it's not a position I would wish on anybody. So, yeah. I don't think I'm going to say any more than that, because, yeah. I'm going to devolve into random sound effects now if I try and say anything more. So, because this end blurb has become just as long as the fic itself. I'm going to have a nice cup of shut the fuck up. Be lovely to each other, and good night, everybody.